Your title page is the first thing a reader sees. It tells them what your script is called, who you are, and how to get in touch with you. But it also gives them their first impression of you and your script. Bending the rules in a clever way might pique a reader's interest, but misjudging how far you can take things, adding amateur elements, or completely missing an expected piece of information can frustrate your reader before the story's even started. But that also means your title page is an opportunity to make a professional first impression, and that only requires including three things: your titles, bylines, and contact info. The title of your script is traditionally written in all caps and centered 4 inches from the top of the page, but as long as it's about a third of the way down, no one will really care. It's supposed to be underlined, but no one will mind if you leave it plain or bold it. You'll rarely see a title with quotation marks around it though, because for a TV script, the episode title will already be in quotation marks, double-spaced and centered below the series title. If you're writing a spec pilot rather than a spec episode, you can simply write pilot here, with or without the quotation marks, instead of including an episode title. Sometimes you even see the episode title line left completely blank for a pilot, but that makes it look a lot like a feature title page, and there's no good reason to create an opportunity to confuse the reader. Double or triple spaced, again, no one really cares, and centered below the title will be your byline. If you created the story and wrote the script, a simple written by or even just by is all you need. Your name will be double spaced and centered below that. And if you're part of a writing team, you'll include both names with an ampersand between them. Using A&D would indicate different writers worked on the script at different points in its development, and along with revisions by, shouldn't be something you need to worry about on a spec script title page. If you're writing a screenplay for a story that you didn't originally create, the credits will be broken into screenplay by and some sort of story attribution. This could be a basic story by credit, or your script could be based on an existing story in a different medium. It might be based on characters created by somebody else, or based on a true story, or based on a novel, or any other source you use to inspire your screenplay. These attributions should be followed by the name of the original creator or source, double-spaced below them. Just keep in mind that if you don't have the rights to adapt the story for the screen, it's incredibly difficult to get someone interested in your script. Lastly, your contact information should be included at the bottom of the page, justified left or rarely right, depending on who you ask. Traditionally, this is the contact information of the writer's agent. But if you're submitting the script yourself, a simple email and possibly a phone number is usually sufficient these days. A mailing address is only needed if you're physically mailing your script, but you really shouldn't do that unless you're asked. And the same is true of anything else you're thinking of putting on your title page that I haven't already mentioned. Way too many amateur writers include a draft number or date on their title page. But there's really no reason to add this info unless you're doing revisions for someone else who wants it, or it's contractually obligated. If you add it for your own records, just delete it before sending the script out professionally. Because readers are often looking for a reason to pass and move on to the next script, when you add draft information without being asked, readers will make stupid, often subconscious assumptions. If it's your first draft, readers might assume it needs editing. If it's your third draft, or fourth, or even later, readers might assume you couldn't crack the story. Draft dates are more common and usually less problematic, but can fall into similar traps. Like if it's old, they might assume something's wrong with it because it's been passed over for so long. Human psychology can be annoying like that. But if you are writing your script under contract with a studio or production company, or another third party has asked you to include draft info, it's most commonly triple-spaced and centered below your name or story origin if you have one, or located in the corner opposite your contact information. Now we get to copyright and WGA registration numbers, or we would if we wanted to let the reader know we're probably an amateur. You see them all the time from new writers, but I've actually never seen this info on a professional submission. Talk to a lawyer if you want legal advice on this topic. This is not legal advice, but according to the US Copyright Office, your work is under copyright protection the moment it's created and fixed in a tangible form. So you don't even have to register it at all. But there are some advantages for folks who end up having to file a related lawsuit or just wish to have the facts of their copyright on the public record and have a certificate of registration. WGA's registration serves a similar purpose of record. But however you choose to protect your work, you don't need to display a notice. Copyright notice is optional for unpublished works, foreign works, or works published on or after March 1st, 1989. And while there are some advantages to using a copyright notice generally, the message it often sends to a script reader is that you think they might be a thief. But again, talk to a lawyer if you have concerns here. Adding company information to your title page is an even clearer indication that the script is authored by an amateur. It's usually done by writers copying similar title pages they've seen floating around online. But those are either scripts written under contract or in production with a studio producer, not a spec draft. Now I know, add this, put it there, don't include that. Most of us don't get into screenwriting for its rigid structure, so where's the fun? Where's the creativity? Your title is always the first item on the page, and your contact info is always in one of the bottom corners. But the spacing we've mentioned in between isn't gospel. As long as you keep related information together and it's easy to read, it's unlikely anyone will be bothered by it. But element spacing is still pretty boring, so let's talk typography. Traditionally, a title page is written in a 12-point modern Courier font, just like the rest of your script, but times are changing. Sure, your entire script still needs to be written in a font used by an early 20th century typewriter, but your title? We can have some fun with that. While the majority of scripts still use standard formats for titles, there's a small trend towards using a unique title typography to add a clever bit of personality to the front of your script. Most of the time, this just means an interesting font, but you could also use color, shape, a clever layout, or anything else that doesn't distract from the important information on the page. Ultimately, it's a trade-off. While these choices can help some readers get into the right mindset for your script, some old school readers still turn their noses up at these sorts of creative decisions. But the more familiar you become with proper formatting, the better you'll be able to assess when breaking from tradition will serve your story or sink your script. While creative tiling might still divide some readers, there's one thing that unites almost all of them. They're overworked, which is why you should watch this video to improve your script's readability, so your readers need less time and energy to appreciate your story.